Lance, you're up.
All right. Well, I can't do it. I'm not feeling it. Director, what's my motivation here?
Well, I think
You just don't want a dog in the shot.
You know what? It'll upstage you. It'll upstage me. They say
go ahead. We got it.
never do a scene with kids or animals.
All right.
All right. So here's the deal. We're looking back a couple videos ago. Rick and I had a terrible fight. It was like all about abortion, and it got as passionate as the actual abortion fights do between people. And I lost it, and what I let Rick do was I let Rick just finish up by reading some descriptions of this bill from 2004. So let me recap what the argument was about briefly. I'm trying to explain to Rick that he's actually a Republican. And the reason is that he's not as radical as the Democrats. The Democrats believe in third trimester abortion, and Rick doesn't. And I said, well then, you should be voting Republican. So Rick, and this is where I lost my temper, or at some point I lost my temper. But the point is that Rick tries to convince me that no, the Democrats are very reasonable. He's against third trimester abortion, and so are the Democrats. I've got it all wrong. I'm just being unfair. So I found the 2004 bill where there was an actual bill before Congress to end third-term abortion. But before, and we argued about it a little bit. So after Rick left, I looked up the position, the platform of the Democrat Party. And it says, we support a woman's right to an abortion. This was in 2018. And then I looked up the Republican 2018 platform, and it said, we're very proud of our work in fighting third trimester abortion. Now, the Democrats don't say anything about third trimester abortion. They don't make any distinction. So then, because of Rick's rapier-like mind, I had to go back to the actual bill in 2004, and I read it. And the bill says, we are against third trimester abortion. And Rick said, well, wait just a cotton-picking minute. This gives the husband the right to veto.
Not just the husband, but the sperm guy.
And so as a result, it's part of the tools of the patriarchy to control women. That was his implication. And no, actually, the penalty for a third trimester abortion was that the doctor would be put in jail for 2 years, the woman could not be prosecuted, and the husband had the right to sue the doctor. That was it.
Well, hold on.
Wait!
No, I'm asking a question. I'm not derailing you. The way I understood it reading it fast, I thought the bill gave the husband the right to veto the guy who knocked up the woman.
No, because it all takes place after she's done it. It says, don't do this, because if you do this, we'll put the doctor in jail and the husband can sue you. So it's all hitting the doctor. The Republicans were hip to this. So they knew if we blame the woman, the Democrats are going to club us over the head with this. So it has nothing. It does not penalize the woman. Now you can reread the bill again. My mind is not a tape recorder. I don't.
Okay,
I don't remember. But wait, there's more. Now part of my argument last week was that I said, look, Rick, why are you voting for Obama, Clinton, Schumer, and Pelosi? Because they're for third trimester abortion. And Rick said, nah, they're not. Come on, those are radicals. You're confusing the Democrats. They're reasonable people. So I looked up the roll call on the 2004 bill. And guess what? Pelosi, Schumer, and Clinton voted on that bill, and they voted against it. Obama wasn't in office at that time because he was in Illinois voting against a similar bill in the Illinois State Assembly. Now, Rick can argue further with me on this if he chooses to, but it's not going to work out. But my point is this, just to cap it off, Rick should be voting Republican, at least on the abortion issue. He disagrees with Clinton, who is on record as being in support of third trimester abortion. Okay.
All right. So I've been hearing a lot. There's a thing I've been hearing a lot from conservatives about liberals lately, because we're talking.
Being the poser, I have no business to stand.
All right. There's a lot of talk about immigration, and conservatives love to say that liberals are in favor of open borders, and this isn't so. Only the most extreme, less than 5% of liberals are in favor of open borders. I saw one, I admit, I only saw one survey on this, and it was kind of one of those surveys that you kind of, decide to participate in yourself, but among the liberal responders to the survey, only 1% were in favor of open borders. And I kind of get the same feeling about third trimester abortions, because I think there's a common sense. Now, not everybody's going to hold the same view. Religious people, a lot of religious people, think that life begins, that inviolate life you can't get rid of, begins at conception. And even if it's just a sperm connecting with an egg, or something that's 8 cells or 16 cells, that thing deserves the same protection as like a 2-year-old baby or a 20-year-old college student. But I think there's a point of view that would encompass much of the U.S. population, which is that there's some point in the gestation period that divides between when it's reasonable to have an abortion and when it's not. For instance, there's the morning after pill that I think prevents the fertilized egg from embedding in the uterine wall. Is that right?
I suppose.
All right, so that's a thing that's already fertilized, but if you can get in there and play defense and stop the fertilized egg when it's just a few cells, 8 cells, 32 cells, that you're not doing anything extreme medically, and that it might not be the worst thing in the world to get rid of the 32 cell deal instead of bringing a kid into the world that's not wanted. At the other end of gestation, it's obviously horrifying. It would be horrifying to live in a society where, a 38-week baby, fetus, whatever you want to call it, 2 weeks from birth, can be yanked out of the womb and killed. And somewhere in between the morning after and 38 weeks, there's a reasonable point at which you better have a damn good reason to have the abortion. For instance, the baby, you've done the ultrasounds, you've done a bunch of stuff, you found out the baby's born without a brain or the baby's actually dead in the womb, and you don't want to make the mom carry a dead baby for another 6 weeks. But in the third trimester, I think most people would agree, liberals and conservatives alike, that if you didn't take care of it in the first 2 trimesters or in the first 4 months or whatever, that you lost your shot, because now you're killing something that is viable and as for no good reason, unless the thing isn't viable or unless it's going to kill you. And I think that's a common sense point of view that most people hold in America or in the world, or I don't know, wherever the frick. And, I don't know why particular people didn't vote for that bill, or I would guess that it contained other things that made the bill unpalatable. But I don't know. I mean, with suing the doctor and da-da-da, I don't know. But that's all I got. So we can move on to the next
there's
thing.
more. Actually, I'm so glad you brought that up, because you helped make my argument again. It turns out that just by sheer luck, I found out that Clinton gave a speech.
The boy Clinton? The girl Clinton? Bill or Hillary?
Hillary gave a speech in 2016 to South American businessmen saying that she wanted open borders. She dreamed of a world with open borders. And it was called the Open Borders speech, and I said, no, this can't be. So I looked it up in the New York Times, and it turns out not only was it on Breitbart and the Wall Street Journal, it was in the New York Times as well. So, and she actually said at some point there were some things she just couldn't say to the American public. There was things you can say in private and things you can say in a public speech. And the idea being that was one of them. So again, it's true that most people are not for open borders. It's true that most people are not for third trimester abortion. It's true about Democrats. The problem is Rick has been voting for somebody that is far more radical than he is on the issue of open borders and third trimester abortion. And I submit on more issues. For example, Rick has admitted to me that the pullout from Iraq was a bad idea, the way it was handled. He's, I assume, in agreement with me that the IRS should not be weaponized against...
No, I'll fight with you a lot about that.
Okay, fine. But my point is, pull out of Iraq, third trimester abortion, and open borders, you're voting for Clinton. You're voting for somebody that is against your own views, that's more radical than you are. So my argument is this. The reason we're able to be friends is that you're not as crazy as the person you vote for. And what I want is to bring you back so that your vote is in keeping with your values, which are superior to the Democrats.
No.
You are a Republican.
I'm not. I mean, look at the current crop of Republicans. Arguably.
But what about those three issues? Don't you feel
Those aren't the whole...
Don't you feel foolish?
No, I mean, because...
That Clinton actually lied to you about what she thought? And that the Democrats have to lie. Because they know who the hell wants their taxes raised and the borders opened?
Oh, sweet. I did some math. And you know how
You are going to respond to my...
I will, but first, quickly. You say that just California's income tax, which can run as high as 10%, has been reaming me.
13% for the wealthy.
All right. Well, I don't know if I ever hit 13%, but I figured out how much I saved in property taxes because of Prop 13.
A Republican initiative.
Okay. But so California's high taxes. I saved $100,000 over the years, at least, in property taxes on our house.
Because the Republicans passed Proposition 13?
Yeah, but, okay, so fine. I don't think it's a good bill, but
You do. You saved $100,000.
No, because, I like the $100,000, but it's a bad bill in that it screwed the California's public schools and some other stuff. But And it's kind of it's good for some people, but it's been misused by corporations and stuff. Anyway, Carol's parents, who lived in their house for over 50 years, they saved like 200 grand, which is helping to finance Carol's mom living in a senior living community.
So you should vote Republican next time.
No, it's still but I'm saying that this is not exactly, the high tax hell that you make it out to be.
It actually is. The California has the highest number of poor people in the country, highest low income. Our poverty rate, children born into poverty, is the highest in the U.S., and we are among the top 2 or 3 in state taxes. And our only competitor is New York, another Democrat state.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean,
I think Massachusetts. So again, why are you doing this to yourself, Rick?
I'm not, because I did my own taxes for the first time last year, and what I owed the state in income tax was a little over 3%. And I'm saving a bunch every year in property taxes. And so I feel like I've kept a bunch of my money.
You've deceived yourself, Rick.
No.
California has the worst housing crisis. The reason that a house in California is double the price of a house practically anywhere else in the U.S. is because the Democrat legislatures pass huge regulatory burdens and on housing construction. They are preventing housing from going up in the state, and they're bringing in millions of illegal aliens who are taking up all the low-income housing. So again, your situation with your house wouldn't even be an issue if you lived in a Republican state. You wouldn't be giving it any thought at all.
But listen, I own a house.
Yes.
Which is quadrupled in value in not that long a time. I own a house. There's a housing shortage. I love it. In a cruel, kind of insensitive way. Not only do I own this asset that appreciates fantastically, now at historic highs, the average cost of a house in the state of California, because there's a housing shortage, but I don't have to pay any frickin' property taxes on it. It's frickin', every day I fill my swimming pool with cash and coins.
But the Democrats are the ones trying to overturn Prop 13.
As they should. But in the meantime, I've done really well. I haven't been, the high tax hell that you say California is, it hasn't been at all for me.
So you're
saying that California is
you're winning the argument by losing the argument.
No, you say California is this high tax hell, and if I lived in any other state, I'd be so much richer. And I'm saying, nope, look at this. It's not so, at least for me.
But yeah, there's a smaller percentage of people that own houses, and I believe in California,
I don't know,
because of the policies of the state legislature.
You love to say
the
that
Democrats.
I'd have all this extra money,
yeah,
and I'm saying nope. House quadruples in value, pay ridiculous, like less than 0.5% in property taxes, thanks to Prop 13. It's
Republican?
Fine, but still, California.
Are you sure this isn't an elaborate joke? Are you actually arguing with me?
But
you're arguing with me by losing the argument.
No, there are 2 points. You say California is hell on people like me because we pay all this money in state taxes. I'm saying,
yes.
Well, in this one area of taxes, I've saved 100 grand, and in this other area of what's happened to the value of our house, the value of our house goes up like 6 figures every year, appreciates. I mean, maybe there's going to be a housing crash, but...
So you want all the low-income housing to be taken up by illegal aliens, and you want there to be massive regulations preventing new housing construction.
Let's talk about what the regulations are. Because the building code book, because
yes.
we did we retrofit our house to make it more earthquake safe. And so we
Yes.
were aware of what the building codes were. It took a
Okay.
long time to get through.
Yes.
Partly because of my own incompetence, because I've never done it before. And I wanted to do some weird stuff. And partly because, yeah, it's tough to get through. The code book went from about yay thick to about yay thick.
Under the Democrats.
Yeah. But most of what, as far as I know, with my incomplete experience, one thing that made it thicker is earthquake safety, because we do live in a shaky state. And the other thing is green construction.
Right. Every state,
Yeah.
every house in California now has to spend an extra $30,000 in construction in order to fit it with solar energy.
I don't know, but I know that.
Well, I know.
All right, I know that. What I know is that if you're building a new house, there was a time, I think it's over now, where you could get. There are anti-McMansion laws, which only let you build a house that has. The limit is 40% of the square footage of the lot. So if you own a 6,000 square foot lot, which is standard for LA, 120 by 50, you can only build 2,400 square feet is the max you can put on that lot. But there were workarounds if you were willing to break up the front facade of the house so it didn't just look like this, this cube. You could get 10%, you could build 50% of the square footage. If you built green, sorry, you could build.
I'm sorry.
All right, you could anyway.
Where's the hook?
But I'm saying that.
Da, 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 da. This act is all right. Bring on the next act.
I mean, I'm just saying that the two things that made the code explode: one, so your house doesn't kill you in an earthquake, and two, or that you don't have to pay $250,000 to put the house back on its foundation after an earthquake. That's thing one. Thing two is this green building stuff, which. I don't know how excessive it is or whatever, but those were responses to real concerns. Anyway, what were
All
we?
right, so let's go on to the next subject.
Okay,
What was it?
I don't. We were.
Was there something you wanted to discuss?
You wanted us to discuss something. Oh wait, like what we? Sorry, 1 second. I apologize.
Oh, you never did respond to my
Which?
fact that you're voting in 3 ways against your own views because Hillary lies to you.
Maybe, politicians say one thing to some person. I mean, frickin' our president now is not a paragon of consistency.
Well, but I mean, these literally are 3 things you care about. You don't believe in 3rd trimester abortion. By the way they kill a baby in the 3rd trimester.
I know it's terrible.
They suck the brain out.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
No, nobody wants that.
But Hillary does.
I don't know, but
I've got her
But I'm
vote.
allowed to be a Democrat and not want willy-nilly 3rd trimester abortion, like a reasonable person.
But you're voting for Hillary Clinton. And the same with the Iraq pullout, and the same with open borders.
Well, worse than the Iraq pullout was the Iraq put in.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with Hillary voted for that. Again, you vote against Hillary.
Well, what are we going to do?
Hillary voted for the invasion of Iraq.
Well, I mean, and it's sad
She
because
changed her mind halfway.
it's really
after
sad
it happened.
because President Hillary is just implementing all that shit right now as we speak.
But I'm saying you're voting for somebody that doesn't agree with any of your opinions. Why are you arguing with me? You're a Republican, Rick.
I'm not.
But you're a Republican on all the issues.
Not really, no. Not wanting 100% open borders doesn't make me a Republican. Not wanting 3rd trimester abortion doesn't make me a Republican. Not wanting Mitch McConnell to hold office. Not wanting Paul Ryan to hold office.
The precipitous withdrawal from Iraq cost 250,000 lives. You were not for the precipitous withdrawal from Iraq.
Actually, I mean, nobody knew. Maybe.
I knew.
Yeah,
all
but
the Republicans knew. Everyone, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, everybody told him not to do it.
all right,
It was obvious.
all right, so I didn't know, and in retrospect, it was bad.
So what I'm saying is the death of 250,000 people and third trimester abortion and an open border.
Those don't
Those are
overrule-
three significant things, Rick.
Those don't overrule the
What?
Republicans being the most corrupt major political party in the history of the United States.
Using the IRS weaponized against your political opponent is the most corrupt thing any party has ever done.
We can argue about that. We've
No, we
argued about
can't.
it. No, we can't, because we've argued about it like 6
No,
times.
but what have you got that's more corrupt than that?
That a completely, well, then we're going to end up arguing about Trump, but that arguably Trump is, now, we're still waiting on Mueller, but Trump is entirely made out of smoking guns right now. And yeah, all right, he hasn't been indicted, or Jared Kushner has. Nobody's been indicted yet, but plenty of people have. And the Republicans, they're not the Republicans of 1973 and 1974, who were taking us, they are, seem to be largely complicit in trying to shut down the investigation and all that. They had the House investigation with Nunes and all that. You think Nunes is this paragon
This is
of...
all smoke and mirrors. You have got nothing on the Republicans. You've got no evidence of anything you're saying. I've got evidence. The court found...
All right, well,
in favor.
on the basis of nothing, let me just say that I personally, as a personal quirk, find the Republicans super scuzzy and corrupt.
Even though you have no evidence.
I mean, I could list a bunch of stuff, but you'd fight me on all this stuff, and you'd go Lois Lerner every time. I'd go this, and this.
But listen, if you live in a country where they use the IRS to shut down their political opponents, what could be worse than that?
Yeah, I don't want to argue about it. Let's move on to
Yeah,
something
but
else.
I mean, what is corruption to you? Just if someone starts an investigation and says you colluded with the Russians, then you must be corrupt?
No, let them finish the investigation, though.
Well,
No.
but they are finishing the investigation. He hasn't done a goddamn thing. I wish he would. I wish he'd say, Mueller, put up or shut up, but he isn't. He's been remarkably restrained, admirably restrained. I mean, if you were a Democrat and you really thought he was guilty, the guy he's like Thomas Jefferson. He's saying, all right, Mueller,
Donald
just
Trump
keep doing
equals
your thing.
Thomas Jefferson. All right, let's
well,
move
then
on
why
to the
doesn't
next.
Donald Trump shut down the investigation if he's so corrupt?
Let's just say this to move on. I don't like Republicans. It's a personal thing.
Well, but this is my point. Here you are, Mr. Science, and your reason for hating the Republicans is pure emotion.
No, but I have plenty of reasons, but you will rebut them with what I consider bullshit arguments. Like, support Mitch McConnell's blocking of Merrick Garland. That was a scummy move of pure political, just doing it because he could, and not for any legit reason.
Well, the Democrats, okay, you're going to say this is whataboutism, but I'm going to say that the blocking of Supreme Court judges began with Kennedy and Joe Biden during the Bork hearings. Before that, all Supreme Court nominations sailed through. They were like 100-0, 90-10. And then what happened was Biden and Kennedy blocked Bork. And it was a very peculiar thing because he was one of the most qualified. He'd written, he was the supreme authority on a huge number of laws. He was the most respected judges in the country. But they
What did they cite when they blocked Bork?
They said that he was too conservative in his interpretation of the Constitution. That he was going to say things like, well, I don't see it written in the Constitution, so it can't be law.
Do we need to break and look up Bork?
No, I mean, I'm just telling you, you can, whatever you find out will be a variation on what I'm saying.
Well, we should look it up. We should look it up.
Their argument against him was basically that he would overturn Roe versus Wade because he's going to have a strict interpretation of the Constitution that says that abortion has nothing to do with the right to privacy.
We should look it up, because I think it was more than that. Now,
Well,
whether the more than that is...
But that's not relevant to my argument. My main argument is that the blocking of Supreme Court justices began with the Democrats. So what Mitch McConnell did was just what has become the custom in this country.
It was,
and it's not more corrupt than the Democrats. If anything, it's one of the few times that the Republicans gave the Democrats some of their own medicine. And it still doesn't rise to corruption. He was legally within his right to do that to Merrick Garland in the same way that the Democrats were legally allowed to challenge Bork and a dozen other nominees.
What was the vote on Bork?
I don't recall whether Bork just withdrew on his own or he lost the vote. But they basically sunk Bork. And they tried to stop
Clarence Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas.
Except Biden decided not to. Biden
Okay.
could have called more witnesses. He had 3 more witnesses to call. And Biden actually decided not to do that.
But by the way, it was the Democrats that decided that a simple majority
Yeah.
could legalize a Supreme Court justice, and that had never happened before.
Yeah, so all right. So yeah,
So
it is
it's-
whataboutism.
So what? Yeah, but it may be whataboutism. But your contention began by saying that the Republicans were completely corrupt over the Democrats, more so than the Democrats, and your only example is the Merrick Garland
Okay, I
appointment,
call
which
break.
is,
Let's
which
look
is
up Bork.
easily,
Let's look up
easily
fucking Bork.
found in the Democrats as well.
All right. Our director says it's not interesting enough. We got to move on.
All right.
What's your issue?
Yeah, the press, First Amendment. So we have a reporter, CNN reporter in the Oval Office that was asking a bunch of questions, and then she got muted in the next.
She wasn't allowed into the next press
Right.
conference.
So
She was yelling about him about, like, the president, what does he think about Cohen saying that he knew about the meeting? And so Trump says, no, you can't come to our next thing.
So is that the government not allowing freedom of the press, First Amendment right, or how do you feel about that? And like we had but on the other side of the coin, you had the GDP that was at 4.1%, the deficit went down, and then really you didn't hear a peep from any of the networks. So what is it? I mean,
Well, if you want to talk, let's talk GDP real fast.
But if you can just answer the freedom of the press, are they squelching the freedom of the press? Or is the freedom of the press not, are they yelling fire in a theater and not covering the government as they should?
The more stuff, I tend to, it's 99 days until the election. So I'm in favor of Trump doing as much, behaving as unpresidentially as he can. If it means blocking reporters and, that anything that makes people like want to go vote for Democrats, I'm okay with
You're
it.
not answering his question, though.
Do I think it's messing with freedom of the press? It's more just Trump. And I know we shouldn't normalize Trump, but Trump, kind of acting like Trump, and I don't feel like the First Amendment at this point is under serious threat. And, we'll see. I don't, on Twitter, I made a joke that that after this Cohen thing came out, that we're 4 weeks away from Trump declaring martial law, canceling the midterms, and surrounding the White House with tanks and artillery, which obviously isn't going to happen, but that's the joke. No, I don't feel like him, kind of being vindictive against one reporter. Maybe I should think about it more, but I don't feel like this is the beginning of the end of the First Amendment in America.
Thank you. You're being the bigger man, as usual, and turns out you're a Republican. It's absolutely right. If you yell at the president stupid questions that he says, look, you're being rude, please leave. I mean, you're not allowed to disrupt something. You ask your question. you get an answer or you don't. And if you won't leave and you just keep yelling, then you're obviously a crazy person and you get to be escorted out and you don't get invited back.
I'm waiting. I had a buddy. He's no longer with us, that got really frustrated in some kind of meeting. It might have been with a professor who was being a dick. And my friend got so upset that without meaning to, he had a Freudian slip. And he goes, "Look, Mr. Asshole." And he's like, "Ooh." And I'm waiting for that moment to happen with a reporter, for somebody to get so frustrated that they accidentally slip. But anyway, that probably won't happen.
You know what? I don't think the guy that prevented North Korea from firing missiles and crushed ISIS and brought the GDP up to 4% is an asshole. I'm sorry. There are millions and millions of people working now. The biggest labor force in history. The fewest people in a long time, possibly in history, on food stamps. More blacks and women and Hispanics employed than ever before. I don't think that constitutes asshole.
Well, you can still do all that and be an asshole.
No, actually, you're a good person, and some Democrats will unfairly characterize you. And I think, on balance, I judge an asshole by the results of the things that he's done for millions of people.
Still an asshole.
This, by the way, the old Lance at this point would lose his temper.
All right, but let's talk about the GDP. How much time do we
The old
have?
Lance might raise his voice.
Okay.
But I want you to know, the new Lance is cool. He's harmonious, very zen. All right, go ahead.
All right.
So real quick though, Lance, your response to the free press. So what
he
you're
said.
saying,
No, it's just typical of the Democrats. They think that we're so stupid. They were not able to fool Rick. He is smart. And so they weren't able to fool Rick that it's the end of the freedom of the press. That if they send a crazy person into the Oval Office and she's rude and disruptive, and Trump says, "Sorry, I'll take somebody else from your network, but you can't come back." And then the Democrats say, "It's the end of freedom of the press." And fortunately, thank God, Rick saw through it.
Well, fine,
because the Democrats must lie to win. They have to pretend that ISIS being destroyed is irrelevant.
Wait. I know ISIS is largely destroyed, but they killed 120 people last week in a big old bomb attack.
Let me tell you something. I could kill 120 people. There are 50,000 dead ISIS troops right now. It was one of the most massive wipeouts of an army in history.
How many died under Obama and how many died under Trump?
Okay, vastly more died under Trump, and the reason is that Obama was using attrition. He said it would take a generation. There's a speech on YouTube.
All right, okay.
It would take a generation to destroy ISIS, and Trump destroyed them in 16 months.
So Rick, I mean, honestly, do you think, let's say, if you put Obama in front of 4.1 GDP, you put Obama in front of the bodies being brought back from Korea, you put Obama in front of the death,
well,
what would the press be covering right now? And let's say you put Trump paying for a dossier. Well,
hold on, like
the news
Trump
right now?
Trump
best. I'd like your response to that, Lance.
Trump bested 4.1 four times, 4 quarters out of the 16 quarters.
No, Obama did.
Obama broke 4.1 4 times. Every previous president had some over 4% quarters. Clinton, I think, did it 8 or 9 times. Though it was easier, I would admit that it was probably easier back then. But
let's say the economy was like, for blacks was the lowest, for blacks lowest, for Hispanics lowest, for women. Let's put Obama's name. What would CNN be covering and MSNBC? And how would the press be going right now? What would be their response?
Well, they'd be covering it, and they might be more celebratory. But the CNN and MSNBC have covered the shit out of it. And what they say is they've talked to a bunch of economists, not just liberal ones, conservative ones. I've seen like so many economists interviewed, and they said it's a great number. The economy is doing really well. We find it unlikely that it'll hit 4% in the following quarter because it was boosted due to some one-time things, specifically China buying a shitload of soybeans before tariffs kick in. Americans grow a bunch of soybeans. If the tariffs kick in, they're going to be much more expensive, so China just bought an ass load of soybeans. Also, the tax cut, the effect of the big tax cut from, I guess, last year, is kicking in now, but it won't be, you won't see the benefits of it for quarter after quarter. So that's the line that every economist is saying, that it's a great, the economy's doing great, it's a great number, but it's likely that in subsequent quarters you're going to see rates closer to 3%. And that's both conservative and liberals, as far as I know, according to and that seems like a reasonable point of view.
All right. Can I respond now?
Yeah.
All right. So I have to think, so it's good that you stopped. Okay. So this is what I got, and I'm not an economist, but this is what I was able to put together. I've been looking at GDP growth, and it's true that in 2014 or 15.
14.
Yeah. Obama hit as high as 4.7%.
5.1.
Okay. Now, when you look at the charts I've been looking at, the difference is this, that after Obama hit that level, it went precipitously down. I'm using that word precipitously a lot. So his numbers on GDP tended to spike up and then shoot way down. Whereas I found a chart that showed that since Trump's taken office, there's been a very steady rise. And it's quite beautiful when you look at it. Every quarter is a little bit higher. Now, not all charts were quite like this, but the one that I found was, a neutral chart, and it didn't show the spiking that Obama's terms showed. And this is what's exciting economists. The economists that say that this 4.1 is different are saying it for several different reasons, and I'll go over them. One, that the rise in our GDP under Trump is more steady. It keeps getting better. Number two, there are three areas where we have 850,000 new jobs, new people working in these industries. Now, employment doesn't just mean, isn't that good for workers? It means that those industries are roaring back. Under Obama, we had 850,000 fewer jobs. Under Trump, we have, not only did we get those back, but then we went up 850,000. And they were in the three key industries that are so vital for our economy: manufacturing, mining, and I knew I was going to forget one. Manufacturing, mining, and
buggy whips.
I think it's manufacturing, mining, and it might be farming, but construction. I got it. Construction, manufacturing, mining. When those three industries are booming, and there's no question that they have reversed a trend in Obama dramatically. That means that the economy is going to continue doing well. But there's more. There's something called investment. This is people that are in a position to invest, big investors. And they found that investment under Trump is 4 times the rate of investment under Obama. All right, and that is going to continue the growth. finally,
Where did you hear this?
I read it in a book.
No,
All right,
no, you
finally,
didn't.
I saw it on the internet. Okay, finally, the last thing that's vital is confidence among CEOs. Now, you may say that's a very vague thing, but it turns out that CEOs are mathematically as good as computers in predicting where their company's going to be a year later. It seems to be an eerie quality that CEOs have. And they have the highest evaluation of their companies in history. So the average CEO believes that a year from now, things are going to be even better than they are. So I don't deny what Rick said about the soybeans. I don't deny what Rick said about Obama hitting that higher mark. But the economy is stronger and deeper than it has been in many, many years, in decades as far as employment and in all the other areas that I described compared to the Obama administration.
All right, so I'm going to mostly agree with you about stuff. I mean, the economists who say it's not going to hit 4 likely next time, but even if it continues to hit 3. Now, we had a bet that if the economy broke 4 in 3 consecutive quarters, you get to take Carol to a Star Wars movie. And so you've acquired the first key. So all you have to do, get 2 more keys, and...
Well, I'd like to make 2 points. The first is that our main argument is not that Trump would ever hit 4, but the Democrats, among them Nobel Prize winner Paul Krugman, the main economist for the New York Times, predicted a disaster if Trump took office. You know, this is not a great economic indicator, but the stock market is also the highest it's been in history. But he predicted a disaster, a crash. And if everything the Democrats said about Trump was true, then we'd be in a depression right now. And we're not. But wait, I have one more point, then I'm going to leave you. The other thing is this. When the economy hit 4.1, besides my happiness for America, I was getting really excited on the prospect of taking the lovely Mrs. Rosner to a Star Wars film. And now I heard the last one was subpar, but I'm willing to go to a classic nighttime revitalization of one of the early ones. I'm going to pick the first one because I hear it's being shown in drive-in theaters across...
No. Also, I shouldn't pimp out Carol without Carol's permission. That's part of the Me Too thing, is you don't pimp out your wife. However unlikely it is that you will acquire the last 2 keys. Okay, so a couple things. One is Mr. Market loves a compromised president. Like, when a president gets in trouble, that's a president who might not be able to fiddle further with business, and just business is allowed to go wild. It happened under Reagan, happened under Clinton. And sure, you give America a huge corporate tax cut, and then you fall into this morass. CEOs and Wall Street, they're going to love that. What else?
There will be further fiddling.
Yeah, I mean, well, if the fiddling is a bunch of tariffs and a trade war, that's not good fiddling. But I would think that maybe people are thinking that's not going to happen, that cooler and less combed over heads will prevail. But also 8 consecutive years of job growth. Just 18, 19 months under Trump and the rest under Obama. So it's like having a kid maybe that keeps getting taller. And I don't know about the choppiness under presidents other than Obama. But anyway, I mean, all the things you said, I'm going to agree with most of them, that, business people are pretty optimistic. Except mining. Mining is, I'm sorry, but there are 50,000 coal miners in America and 4 times as many people working in wind and solar.
You know what? I knew you were going to worry about the coal mining again. We've had this argument, so I thought it through. You know what? It's not coal mining. It's all mining.
There's only 50,000?
No, but we mine aluminum. We mine all kinds of things. So it's mining in general, whatever we get out of the earth. Because I realized, yes, Rick has explained to me, it's only a small number that mine coal, but we mine lots and lots of things. We mine bauxite, for example, and aluminum, which is the most plentiful metal in the world. I didn't know that. I thought it was a relatively modern element. I just love talking about aluminum.
Well, no, 100 years ago.
We've got so much, we can never run out of aluminum. By the way,
120 years ago, aluminum was so rare they would make precious jewelry out of it.
Yeah, because they couldn't figure out how to separate it from the other elements. But here's my question. Again, the Democrats have to lie to you. If aluminum is the most plentiful metal, we can't run out of it. It's one of the most plentiful elements on Earth. Mm-hmm. Why are they so worried about aluminum cans being recycled?
Probably because of the associated costs. It's probably not cheap to, and also, do you want a bunch of, why not recycle the stuff instead of having them go into landfills? The aluminum being a metal.
It's cheaper to recycle it than to make more.
I would guess so.
But I want you guys to know, wait, it's one of the most plentiful elements on Earth. It's actually after carbon. I think it's like third.
I know. There's shitload of it.
There's so much aluminum, guys. If you get nothing out of our show, lots of aluminum.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you need to fill landfills with it if it's cheaper to recycle. I mean, it's a metal. So metals are, you can't recycle frickin' Pampers because they're filthy and they're made out of stuff that doesn't recycle. But aluminum, that's being a metal, it's easy to reuse that stuff.
All I can say is...
So Michael Cohen is starting to sing. Is he going to sing and compose?
How much time do we have?
We have 3 minutes.
All right, so we need 1 minute at the end for you to sing a song to Frida, who loves Spanish language singing. All right, so, we'll see. Frickin'... Some liberals have recently said we're kind of in that things are accelerating and we're close to some kind of end of this. I don't know. I don't really know. I'll continue to say wait and see until there's some kind of conclusion.
Okay. Well, Michael Cohen's already on record as having said that. Trump was not aware of the meeting. So he's now changing his tune under duress. It's not going to hold up in court. If I say my client didn't kill somebody, and then 6 months later I'm singing in court to save my own neck, and I say, yeah, he did. That's not going to hold up in any trial on Earth.
So a lot of people are saying, I don't know if that's exactly the situation.
No, he's on record.
Okay, but fine.
He's an official witness against what he's saying right now.
All right, so a lot of people are saying that it's going to take more than just him saying. It might take some further corroboration, if it happened. Because I'll grant you that there are 100 tapes of that Cohen recorded.
And by the way, even if he did know that the meeting was going to take place, it still doesn't matter because it's not illegal for Trump to lie. He didn't lie under oath.
I don't know, but wait and see.
Oh, wait, and there's more. It turns out that meeting with those individuals, that meeting was those Russians were actually employed by a Clinton associate.
Friend, come here, friend.
Yeah, the guy from Glenn Simpson from GPS.
Come here, friend.
Who was hired by the Clintons? Was the person that put those Russians up meeting with Trump Jr. So it only leads back to the Clintons.
Please sing a Spanish song.
It only proves that Hillary had hired these
You
people.
played that tune before. Let's hear a Spanish tune.
No, I didn't play this tune before. It makes
Come on.
it strengthens the connection between Clinton and the dossier, the
Man.
fake dossier.
Man. Okay.
But no, wait a minute, because GPS put those Russians up to meeting with Trump Jr.
Apasionado, anda todo alborotado por volver. Voy camino a la locura, aunque todo me tortura, sé perder. Nos dejamos hace tiempo, pero me llegó el momento por volver. Tú tenías mucha razón, le hago caso al corazón y me muero por volver y volver a tus brazos otra vez. Llegarías a donde estés, yo sé perder, quiero volver.